Hello guys, how we doing this week? Just wanted to make a quick episode about the relevance of a concert I went to this last week and the band that was playing and why it was important. I don't plan on doing this all the time, but every once in a while you see something or you witness something of relevance. I feel the need to talk about it. And so this platform is going to be for it. Like it or hate it, it is what it is. If you're not interested in this kind of stuff, move on to the next one. If you are, let's sit here, stop, and talk about it. Refused. So I went and saw Refused this last week in Sacramento. It was their last North American concert that they were ever going to play. I will start off by saying they still have it. And the fact that they're going to be calling it quits. I feel sorry for anybody who didn't take the opportunity to listen to them. And this might be some of your guys' first introduction to Refused, which I hope their legacy continues on with the music and the catalog that they presented to us. But also, you take a minute to kind of understand why what they did was so relevant. So, Shape of Punk to come. And I'm going to be honest. I didn't know what to think of this record at first. I mean, this record was just so much different than anything that I had heard, so much different than anything that Epitaph was coming out with. And it just kind of was something that it took me probably a good 6 months before I really came around to it and was like, oh, okay, I get this. Like, I enjoy this. And part of that was there's so many different elements that was in this record. Like, for one, it wasn't just a straight up punk album. It was different. You listen to it today, it still remains relevant because there's elements of hardcore in there. There's some punk elements. You hear some samples, and there's some jazz stuff in there. And it's just so much more complex than a lot of what the other punk bands were producing at that time. And the sound was just so much different. The sound was just so much different that I know a lot of people, it took them a while to come around. The sound was so much different that I know a lot of people, it took them a while to come around to. And I think that is kind of something to be said for a lot of innovative bands at their time. Like, you don't know what to think and it takes a while to come around to. And the big thing about something like this, and there's other bands I can think of like Talking Heads and bands like The Clash or NoFX, and just these bands that came out that were very influential, and they may not have had a lot of commercial success, but they laid underlyings and the groundwork for other bands to come along, that the relevance of their music stays true to form decades later. And this album, probably one of my top 10 most influential albums. And if you ask me, it stays relevant to today. Like, you listen to like some of these tracks and some of the work that they did, like just how clean they were able to get some of the hard-hitting guitar sounds to come out. And it wasn't straightforward, like in your face. We were gonna grind chords from the beginning to the end, and fast tempos. There's tempo changes, there's key changes, there's different elements that are thrown into song, and they wove this intricate framework into their music. Relevant even to this day. And I think that's an important note on a good album and a good band. Fortunately, they broke up in 98. Unfortunately, shortly after that album was released. So they kind of had this Bill Murray-esque quality where you got to call a number and you leave a voicemail and he might check it sometime in the next 6 months and get back to you on interest and roles. And it was that mystique that also, like, you just didn't know what was going to happen. You'd heard, like, yeah, they're broke up, they're done, there's no more. And then I want to say it's like 2012, you hear about, hey, Refused is coming back. And it was kind of exciting, and it's like, oh, okay, I got to pay attention to it. And I never got to see them. Never got to see them during that time frame, even though they were on my radar. But, as most adults, like, we're busy, we have busy lives. So fast forward to today, like, just happenstance was like, I wonder whether Refused is playing any tours this year. Looked it up, saw that they were, and saw that was going to be their last tour. And it's like, okay, I've got to go, I've got to see this. And you can look up footage of them playing and you can just see the energy. I knew it was going to be one of those concerts that was going to be an amazing concert to go see. The one thing I will say about this concert, on top of everything else, was they were very sincere and genuine, and you felt a certain amount of importance to what you were seeing. And I think the way that they presented themselves for this concert was absolutely amazing. Getting to hear them say some of their farewells, citing the people that they work with, not just the band, but the people that they worked with on the tour, through their tours, and everybody that was involved was kind of cool for me personally to see, because there's a lot of people that are behind the scenes in these concerts that you may never hear about. And for them to take a few moments to recognize that. And then, just anytime you see a band giving a farewell or saying goodbye, addressing the audience, and you could feel the sincerity in what Dennis was talking about and everything that he had to say.
It's pretty spectacular. So I'm gonna get you in on a little secret. So when we decided that we were gonna break up, and then we booked a tour of America, and it was 5 shows. It was like New York, Toronto, Chicago, San Francisco, LA, and then this mega festival in Las Vegas got in touch and said, there's 2,000 bands playing one day, we're gonna fucking throw money at you. And we said, all right, that seems, sometimes you need people to throw money at you. And we said, okay, instead of going home, we added another 11 shows. And then the festival canceled. But I gotta tell you, just between us, the Refused last North American show will be it was a mega corporate festival with 2,000 other bands in a parking lot in Las Vegas. It would feel a bit weird. It would feel a bit weird. So I gotta tell you, I am incredibly excited that Ace of Spades Sacramento is going to be the show.
I'm gonna play a couple of clips from the concert for you, and just so you guys can kind of see. I don't know if I'm gonna get in trouble for this or not, but if I do, oh well. Like, it's my footage. I took it on my phone. Sorry about the audio quality or the imagery, but any of you guys that were interested in seeing like some footage from the last concert, here it is for you. Okay, and then another thing I want to discuss about this is it's really cool to see a band that has stayed true to their form over the years. And like bands evolve musically, and that's all, or bands evolve musically and people evolve, right? But seeing them stay true to their roots and staying rooted in the things that have made them an important band, I think was very important to see even in this last concert.
Somehow are buying into this culture war, and if you somehow look at the world today, you see what's happening, and you think that trans people are the problem, or if you think immigrants are the problem, or if you think the LGBTQ community is the problem, I got news for you. You are the fucking problem, alright?
So, and then one last thing that we're going to talk about. Let's talk about Refuse's legacy. So, obviously, a pioneering band. There was a lot of bands that did similar things, but I think Refused was probably the most outright and forefront about doing something different. And I think that had a very important part of their music. Or probably the band that sticks out to me the most with what they were doing at that time that made them so much different than anybody else that we heard. And what I think here that's important is just like they have an album, and they only produced a few albums over their time frame as a band, but like let's be honest with it. Shape of Punk to Come was the album that made them, that's most relevant to them. And that's important because not very often do bands produce albums that have the lasting power of Shape of Punk to Come. And I think you can still hear their influences in bands today. You still hear that album being referenced quite often. And I think that's where the true innovation for them came through. And I think that's the importance of the innovation that they did for Shape of Punk to Come. It gave us something new and it stayed fresh. Even years later, you listen to it and it's like you could place this album as if it came out yesterday and nobody would be able to tell the difference between that album and anything else produced today versus, or it could be released today and it would still fit in. Like, you could release this album today and it still would hold a relevancy, let alone knowing that it was released almost 30 years ago And I think that speaks to the staying power of an essential album. And I hope some of you guys feel free to comment on this. Like, if you guys are Fuse fans or you guys enjoyed that album or anything like that, leave a comment. I want to hear your guys' experiences with it. And I think it's very rare that you find bands that can have that kind of relevancy. David and Chris and Dennis, you know, I wish you guys the best of luck. Like, good luck with your retirement. I think it's awesome. And, you know, I hope you guys get to enjoy the rest of your lives. Like, that's all you can wish for. And, you know, be selfish for anybody to say, oh, God, they still had it. And, like, I wish they would keep going. But, you know, like, music's not easy. And it's not. I mean, music's not easy. And I respect anybody that knows when it's their time to go and decides to step away. So, wish you guys the best of luck.